while I have a drink, get my voice back, I've got a contribution from Sam, who's one of the directors of the Home Adaptations Installer Network, and is going to talk us through how housing associations can also use the Home Adaptations Installer Network. So over to Sam.
Hi there, my name's Sam Lucas and I'm a director here at the Home Adaptations Installer Network. Firstly, I just want to thank Paul Smith from Foundations for inviting me to speak to you all today. Unfortunately, I can't be there in person due to prior commitments, but I wanted to take the opportunity to pre-record a video for you. So we can explain a bit more about the Home Adaptations Installer Network. So, without further ado, I'm just going to share my screen. Here we go. So this will take about 5 to 10 minutes, but really give you a background into the Home Adaptations Installer Network. So the network was created with 3 main stakeholders in mind. Now, you will see a little bit in this presentation that it's sort of geared up to local authorities and homeowners, but that's just to give the background, and I'll certainly drill into the benefits on why it is specifically advantageous to housing associations and to tenants. But really just running through those 3 key groups. So whether it's householders or tenants, you know, they're a primary stakeholder in this. Our aim was to create a network to give them absolute confidence that they were choosing the right contractor, whether that was from a workmanship or from a professionalism perspective, but they were going to deliver the adaptation work to a quality standard in their home, and they were going to deliver a quality experience with it. Obviously, to deliver that quality experience, you need another stakeholder, which is the registered installers or contractors. And really, you know, obviously it's a network of them, so they're pivotal to this. And I'll come on to more of it about how we vet them and about how we ensure they're to a quality standard. And then we have the local authorities. So, and I'll just jump onto the next slide when it works. There we go. So just speaking about local authorities, obviously Foundations and Paul have great background in this, and through some DFG roadshows we did with them and various other events, and from data and prior relationships that Paul and his team have with local authorities, we knew that from some research that 41% of local authorities didn't have a list of approved contractors. Most authorities need more contractors to meet demands of adaptations. There's no centralised standard for authorities, and I know that can be an issue within the housing association space as well, that there is no you know, specific standard for contractors to deliver, you know, housing adaptation work. So that's something we're really pushing towards. We want to make it a nationalised standard in the fullness of time. And therefore, you know, just between us, I myself work for a company called Diversity, and I'll come onto that a bit more shortly. But we partnered with Foundations to create this network. You will know Foundations because they have obviously a lot of expertise in the housing adaptation space, and a lot of expertise within the DFG world as well. And you've likely have spoken to Paul and his team prior to this webinar. What you won't know so much about is Diversity. Now, we have over 25 years experience of delivering trade accreditation or recommended tradesperson schemes out to homeowners or tenants. So we work closely with a range of manufacturers and organisations to basically deliver these trade accreditation programs, and really that's why it was a perfect marriage with Foundations, who have the expertise in the house adaptation space, we have the expertise in the trade accreditation space. Therefore, it made sense to bring our expertises together, our backgrounds, our knowledge, and form what we refer to as the Home Network. Just a bit of background here, just to show our expertise in the space, that we've worked with a number of large and credible manufacturers and organisations over the past 25 years to create these schemes, right from the foundations, whether that's the processes, the CRM behind it, just the operational infrastructure. We have a dedicated team here based up in Nottingham for all of these schemes and for the Home Network, who basically do all of the ongoing checks as well, and they're just a point of contact for both the contractor and the customer on jobs carried out. So over the last 2 years, or getting on to 3 now, ourselves and Foundations have basically been creating the Home Adaptations Installer Network, and we sort of soft launched this at the September 2024, and did this by just introducing it to local authorities and other stakeholders within the space across a series of roadshows and events. Now, just moving on to Trustmark. So some of you may have heard of Trustmark, but they're a government-endorsed quality scheme. But essentially, we are a Trustmark scheme provider. So it allows us to basically register our contractors to be Trustmark approved. So not only are our contractors Home approved, they're also government approved through Trustmark. So A, it allows us to give that benefit to the contractor, but B, it really holds us to a standard as a company to meet, not only to meet these government standards, but what we take these government standards and basically build on that to make it specific to the home adaptation space, which really brings us nicely onto our vetting criteria. So these are, I suppose, the 7 steps of comprehensive vetting, but there's 6 involved in the initial onboarding experience. So what we call the initial contact and criteria check phase. So when contractors first come to us wanting to join the scheme, or we approach them, we essentially ask them for a number of different things that they must meet. So £5 million worth of public liability, they must offer a minimum 2-year workmanship guarantee, they must have an SSIP certificate to prove health and safety on site, and they must have at least 2 years relative experience within the relevant trade and space. So that's kind of the initial criteria. If they don't meet that, we can help them to get there in some cases, but they must meet that in order to join the scheme. So if they do, they then move on to fill out an application form, which gives us all of their personal, business, employee details along with customer references, and they adhere to a code of practice, which essentially is an important document which states how we expect them to carry themselves both off and on site and in contact with the customer. So there's a lot of rules and regulations and sort of SLAs within there, and the contractor signs up to that as part of joining the membership. They'll also provide supporting documents to prove what they said in the initial criteria check. Alongside that, we perform background checks, including DBS checks. So anyone who's going to be on site has to have a DBS, and we record that. We'll check the customer references initially provided. We'll run a financial check via company's house, looking for any sort of flags around multiple changes in directors, sort of liquidating companies, etc. And just looking for flags. And same with online presence. Are they a member of any other accreditation schemes? How do they carry themselves on social media? Are there any flags we need to be concerned about there? Why we wouldn't want them, as a Home contractor? Now, the next part is really important. They need to complete assessment, so they carry out, we basically carry out an on-site job assessment for any service they wish to provide. So let's say it's bathroom adaptations. We may go and look at a job for a level access shower. So we are not only sending an assessor up with them to view that work, but we're also asking for photos throughout the job, because it's all very well looking at a finished product, but what's behind the tiles? What does the pipe work look like, etc. So it's a comprehensive assessment. Should they pass that, they then need to complete what we call the best practice training. So this is everything covering sort of DFG practice, but really just in general, what to consider if the person has a disability or is vulnerable. So it's especially for you can have real assurance that these guys understand how to what to expect when entering the home and how to behave, and the little things they need to be aware of, and certainly be understanding the process of a contract. So that really can give you confidence in that, also make your lives a lot easier throughout the job process. And then it's not just about onboarding. So when they're members, we continue to carry out quality checks. So whether that's customer feedback, periodic reassessments, annual background checks, and just looking at data that we're storing across all of those jobs. So our dedicated team here will be, like I said, will be a point of contact and continue to look at contractor quality, but also acting as a customer service for both the for the tenant, for landlords, for local authorities, for housing providers, for contractors, etc. So to bring it all back, what are then the benefits of the Home network? So for housing associations, and as I understand it, that'll primarily be the key point for a lot of you on this webinar. But it's really going to give you the assurance that you're able to find the right contractors for adaptation work. So it's not just any builder, but it's firms who understand how to deliver wet rooms, ramps, access works, but they also understand how to work with disabled and vulnerable tenants. So they're not just going in there to build an extension, they're building an extension for somebody who has a specific set of needs, and they're well versed in that because they have the experience of delivering similar jobs. You can have more confidence in vetting. So we've just been through the vetting process, but essentially we're completing that vigorous vetting of contractors, so you didn't have to. It's one less job for you to do, and it's really giving you the confidence and assurance that you'll have in their high quality professionalism and workmanship. Number 3, we help contractors to understand the DFG process. So paying contractors will basically understand quotes, approvals, variations, tenant communication, and just the wider system around funded adaptations. So with that, you're getting a contractor who understands the process, so you're not having to explain it to them. They're coming to you with a not background knowledge already in that. Number 4, they're supporting better contract management and quality. So we're not just providing a yellow pages of contractors, not just a list of names and phone numbers. We're providing, with assurances, including the fact that every member is going to provide a 2-year workmanship guarantee on all work they carry out. And we're not just here to provide contractors, we're also here for ongoing support. So throughout our members' tenure with us, like I said, we conduct regular monitoring and reassessment, and our team is always on hand to help. And on the rare occasion that we do have issues with the job, our team are well versed in handling complaints, and we can work with you when needed to provide mediation, and we also have access to our Trustmark dispute resolution ombudsman. Doesn't usually go to that far. We always try and work with the contractor and the homeowner to resolve it in the first instance, but if we need to, we do have the necessary resources to help out. From a tenant's perspective, it should be a really good and an improved tenant experience. They should be getting the best user experience possible for the work that's being carried out. So with better contractors, there should be fewer delays, there should be less confusion, and better communication between them and the tenant, and just a smoother experience throughout for the person living whilst the work is going on. And as we said, all the contractors are well versed in DFG works and have committed to the Home Adaptations Installer Network Code of Practice and the Trustmark Customer Charter. So they're really aligned to what they need to deliver for both yourselves and the tenants. So that's a very quick intro into Home Adaptations Installer Network. But here's a few contact details, which I'm sure Paul will share with you. It's been a real pleasure speaking to you today. But if you do have any questions or you'd like to consider using the Home Adaptation Installer Network, then please reach out. We've made great progress this year, including working with a number of local authorities who are starting to mandate it, that all of their contractors have to, be on Hain. We're really building that pipe work of just contractors in general, and there's a lot of more work coming through the able to pay market. So it's growing, but it'd be great to hear from you on what you think about Hain, and if you'd like to discuss how it could better fit you, then please do reach out. Okay, it's been a pleasure, and thank you for your time.
So thank you to Sam for doing that for us.